Good morning.
Okay, we are recording.
All right. Those are some beautiful flowers.
Well, thank you. You know, I buy myself flowers every 2 weeks. That way I'm sure to get them.
Well done. All right. I can't see who's on here.
All right,
Switched.
I'll let you know. We've got Adam, Mary, RJ, Todd, um,
You got Rick, JR.
JR,
Melissa
Aaron, Melissa. Yep.
and RJ.
Yeah, RJ's on there. I'm not sure if Blake's calling in or Rob, but try to see here too.
RJ and JR. That's probably not confusing at all.
No, especially if you're doing emails.
Mm-hmm.
So Tanya, just so you have context, RJ is my go-to with First Tee. He and I work together a lot with
Awesome.
programming and scheduling. Yes.
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
So Rob's going out for a golf lesson, and I'm sure if Blake can call in, he will. I think he's busy as well, or on with Aaron. I'm not sure, but I think we're good to go. And ladies, thank you. I guess I'll just start real quick with just announcing to our instructors and employees that Family Golf Learning Center has engaged in a partnership with Recruiting Student Athletes, which is RSA. Represented today by Tanya and Mary. Tanya is in Florida. Am I right?
No, I'm outside Chicago right now.
Okay. You never know where she is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Mary is here in St. Louis. So she will be kind of our local, consultant or person that will be representing RSA locally. And we can kind of have as our point person when we have students that are interested in learning more about the college recruitment process. But we're excited. We do have an agreement going to where we have partnered, and so there is a recruiting fee that we'll be giving each person's teacher for recruiting, or sorry, sending or referring a student to RSA to use their services. So our teachers can keep that in mind, and we can talk about that at our teachers meeting, what that looks like. But there will be a fee and a payment for that if you are sending kids their way. But they're the experts on what they do. I'm looking forward to learning more about the process and what you guys do for the potential student athletes, college student athletes in particular. And we feel like we have been developing a lot of young athletes, young golfers, and preparing them for college golf. And a lot of them have those aspirations. And I look at what you guys do in your service as something that can benefit those students. So we'll sit back and listen, and you can just let us know a little bit more about the program that and the services that you provide potential college golfers.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. That was a great introduction. I'm going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Unless anybody's driving, can you pop on your video just so I get a name to a face and I know who's talking and everything like that? Because I do want this to be, thank you, Melissa. I do want this to be very interactive. If you guys have questions, I want you to stop and ask, because the more you know about what we do, and how we do things and how we operate, the more educated and you can tell your students about it and whatnot. So, a little bit about myself. So I have been in the consulting world for about 15 years. I used to work for a very large company. And the last 4.5, I am co-owner of RSA. So there is RSA is an umbrella company that does all athletics. We have 5 owners, all equal, and we specialize in baseball, golf, volleyball, and soccer. We also do lacrosse in the Northeast. So, well, we do it everywhere, but the guys in the Northeast. So, and we're all over the country. So just to give you an idea of that, I'm the director of golf. I played college golf myself. Mary and I played separately together. I was at University of South Florida. She was up a little place called Princeton. You may have heard of it. So we were in the mid-90s, and a lot has changed since then. I loved my experience, though. We were very competitive, top 25 team when I went, and it was difficult to navigate, and I didn't have much help with it. Didn't know what to expect. So many years later, I did get into this, and I feel like been there, done that. So happy to help families, especially. We help a lot of not just the student athlete, but the families navigate this. We do create a roadmap, and with RSA, we hang our hat on individual families. We don't do anything cookie cutter. Everything is catered to what they need. We ask a lot of questions because we're not going to try to give them something they don't want or need. So we do have that specialized and personal approach, which we really, that's what makes us a lot different. So I am outside of Chicago. We've placed over 175 athletes, and we have 2 more girls on our team, and combined, I was not a college coach, but the 3 ladies were. They have over 80 years of coaching experience. So we often say to them, and Mary will say when talking to an athlete, I'm going to put my coach's hat on for a minute. And I love that because that's not a background I came from. Best thing I ever did. Mary's been with me for 2 years, and over 2 years. And I call her my partner in crime. We have different experiences, different backgrounds, and we work all of our kids together. So we complement each other very well, I think. Mary, I'll let you explain a little bit, and then I'll kind of go through the contracts.
Good. Thanks, Tanya. So some of you I've met, or, we pass like ships in the night with the busyness at Family Golf. So typically I've got a big hat on and sun sleeves, but I am the program director for the First Tee chapter here, and love partnering with Family Golf. And I currently coach Tuesdays, so I'm out a lot, and happy to connect with you when I'm in person as well at the facility. But as Tanya mentioned, we both played in the mid to late 90s. Back then recruiting we didn't have email, send your video in the mail. The right person saw you and hopefully you got an offer. And so things have changed in a big way since then. In our sport, as some of you who have been exposed to soccer and volleyball and other team sports, there's no singular path for golf. It's what tournaments do you play? Do I travel outside of my area? How do I contact coaches? So there are a lot of moving parts, and having the coaching background and being able to come at it from the lens of a college coach has been helpful in conversations with our athletes. So I aligned myself with RSA because I got to know Tanya when I was a coach, and she was different in a good way. I met her out at the state tournament in the state of Illinois. I was following an athlete that she was working with. This was actually with the old company that she worked with, that she worked for rather. And she got to know me and she asked me questions. She asked me what I was looking for as a college coach. She wasn't trying to sell me on a kid or push a kid on me. It was more so, what are the things you value and you're looking for, so that I can send the right kids your way and I can help facilitate conversations. So when I had the opportunity to leave college coaching, leave Washington University, which was my last stop, and start my career with First Tee, it was a no-brainer to join Tanya and to align myself with her. And so she already said it, but our experiences kind of very much complement one another. We do speak with one voice in terms of when we work with kids. She'll get into the nuts and bolts of kind of what it looks like, but we have a group chat with every family that we work with, and we invite the swing coach, the swing instructor, to be a part of that conversation. You can be as active or as inactive as you want to be, but it helps everybody to talk with one voice to kind of know what's going on, that sort of thing. And so as a college coach, it was really important for me to be connected to and on the same page as the swing coach. And we very much strive for that as well with RSA. And so, I kind of see the path that we provide for athletes is a goal setting path. What's their end goal? How do they want to get there? We take a very holistic approach. Tanya will talk about some of the things that we provide in terms of in our proposals, the areas of support we can provide. But, not every family needs all the things. So, but we do pride ourselves in, if we don't know an answer, we certainly try to stay in our lane. We never try to be a swing coach, nor do we try to be a nutritionist or a sports psychologist, any of those things. But we have spent a lot of time cultivating relationships and building relationships with experts in the field. So whether it be in St. Louis or other areas, we've really been intentional about that. And that's been an asset for us. So that's how I came to RSA. And like Tanya said, since 2021, and looking forward to supporting you guys as you help kids, kind of explore what this process is all about and how we can help them.
Thank you. That was great. So let's start with what our sweet spot is. Obviously, we work with all ages, but our ideal athlete is 8th grade, freshman year. And kind of the way I like to describe things, the second you know that you want to play golf in college, there's something you could be doing. Well, I won't go into all of that because we're going to hit some of this stuff along the way. But we do help juniors. We like to think of it as a marathon, not a sprint. If you're a junior, we're sprinting. And it may be a case that the realistic doesn't align with the ability, and we may consult them a little bit and decide that we're not a good fit for them because we don't want to set ourselves up for failure, and they have to be realistic in where this journey is going to take them. So we don't work with everyone, I guess, is a way to email put that. So let's jump right in. So college consulting. So that entails everything from email writing, coach phone calls, camp recommendations, scholarship search, SAT, ACT, testing resources, college planning preparation, NCAA, NAIA eligibility centers, and recruiting organizers. So that's what that tagline looks like. And that does encompass the broad scope of it. So we're not going to recommend camps if they're not in a good place for it. So these answers are not blanket answers. They're very unique to every athlete and what this looks like. We don't want our kids to go rogue and just start emailing coaches because we know that there's a good way and a bad way to do that. So in the beginning stages, we absolutely look at every email to make sure it's appropriate. They're very used to cookie cutter emails. Ours are not. And we counsel them on how to create those emails. Coaches really don't want to hear from us. So we're taking a very good approach of enabling the athlete to be their own self-promoter. So we're behind the scenes until we don't have to be. We're obviously using all of the contacts that we have. Mary has a lot of contacts, as well as I do for doing this quite some time. But that's going to be a conversation of, hey, what are you looking for? As Mary was talking about when I called her and asked her what she was looking for. So we're going to use the contacts we have, but we're going to enable the kid to do the bulk of the communication. And we're also going to consult the mom and dad when to jump in and when not to jump in. So does anybody have any questions about that? I did mention NCAA as well as NAIA. We work with all divisions. We've even placed some junior college kids that had good careers and went on to play at a 4-year university. And our contract says that we'll help you through that time frame. So we do give junior college support. So if you do into the junior college, we will help you make that jump to a 4-year university. Anybody have any questions with that one? Okay. Adam,
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions. I think it's great. I think, if I were to look at this at the time that I was trying to get into college golf, I can see your service as being very helpful for me and my family, being that my dad didn't come from a golfing background. My mom didn't come from a golfing background. There wasn't much knowledge from my family in terms of what are the best tournaments to play in? What do my scores need to be like? What where should I be looking? Is it even, a good idea to think about wanting to go to Stanford? Like when is that realistic? And so I think that the way that I like to think about you guys is that you kind of paint the picture for the student and the family, and most importantly, the family, on what's realistic and what can improve to kind of get them maybe to where they'd like to be. So your expectations are set, and the understanding and knowledge of like what has to be in place and where you would, be able to go with where you're at with your game and your grades and whatever it may be that all your colleges look for. So I think it's just a great tool for families and kids to get realistic view on what's possible for them. So
Yeah.
that's my take.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if you're impressed by that, that was just the first bullet point. We've got a lot more stuff.
Yeah, great, thanks.
So the next one that we have is family communication. So upon enrollment with us, we'll start a group chat, and that does, as Mary said, would include you guys. If you want to be on it, you, as she said, is active or is not as you want to be. That's totally up to you guys. But we have those every 3 to 4 weeks. We do not like going beyond that because we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. I'm sorry, that's we have Zooms as well. So we have the family chat, but we also have a Zoom just like this every 3 to 4 weeks. So it's just a catch up. Sometimes we're talking about schools. Sometimes we're talking about letters to coaches. That depends solely on where they are in the process, but it's just to make sure that we're all up to date, on track, and all pretty much moving in the right direction. Player evaluation, we do offer this. Most likely it would be Mary in this situation, and that player evaluation is not on a technical, doesn't take on a technical aspect at all. It's 100% with a coach's lens. So your behavior, possibly we get into why did you choose that? Why did you, some core strategy stuff that we're seeing, but how are you acting with your teammates? How are you interacting with your mom and dad? All of those things. I used to have a college coach that would follow her kids to the parking lot to see how they spoke to their parents. So there's really nothing out of bounds with this player evaluation. It's at least 9 holes. We do put a 6-hour maximum on it. It's not addition to, it's part of the program that we offer. And you guys would obviously know when we were doing that. We're not going to sneak up on anybody. It's planned. And you'd be well aware of that. And you guys would have the feedback from that as well. But I think it's very important, especially with this line item, that we're not coming at it from an instructional outlook, completely a coach's lens. Mary, anytime you want to stop me, just yell.
Okay.
Website profile page. So, have been having done this a long time. Everybody needs an online presence. So it's catered to every athlete. It's where they house everything in one place. So if you think about it, we want to make it as easy as possible for college coaches to know who Jimmy and Sally are. So how do we do that? We don't make them go to JGS, YouTube. We don't make them go to all of these different places. We put it all in one place. It houses their introductory video. It houses their swing video, their grades, their SAT scores. It is private. The coach has to be registered or they can't get their personal information. So it won't have phone numbers. It won't have anything like that unless the coach comes to us and asks for that permission. So we are protecting our kids in that aspect. But it creates a platform that the kids can use. It's 100% up to date. And I take care of all of the website stuff. So they feed me the information and I build it. I don't put that on them to do any of that stuff. I do that for them. Something just left my brain that was it was gonna be brilliant, whatever it was. I don't remember. So it's the one-stop shop for a coach to know who the family is. So, and the introductory video, that's something pretty cool that we do. 45 seconds to a minute, and it's the athlete, and we can send you some examples and you can circulate them. Mary might be able to put it in the chat box down there, which will be
I'm
good.
working on that. Yeah.
It's an opportunity for the athlete to speak to a coach. That's the intended audience, to show a little bit of their personality. Perhaps they do more than just golf. We highlight that in the video. We've had a young lady start with a violin. That absolutely sets her apart. So the thing with that is, how am I unique? So that's what's on the video as well. And if we're doing some emails, not sending the entire portfolio, we are going to add that personality profile, that personality video, just because that's going to be embedded in the email somewhere, just because it's great information for the coach. And that's also updated. Everything that we do can be changed and updated and anytime they want it to. It's nothing has to stay up there for any amount of time. That's what's great about the platform that we use. It's as updated as the athlete is letting it be.
So I actually dropped an example. Sorry to interrupt, Tanya. Some of you may know Yash Rao. I think maybe he's come out to do some short game lessons as well, maybe with JR. I can't remember. Yep. Fantastic young man from South County, going to Lindenwood, staying local. And so kind of an example of a kid that we were able to coach through the process, but I have just included a link to his profile. And he did a good job with his interview video. With the swing coaches, maybe this is something that's of relief to you. It's even better if you could do your kind of testimonial or your reference as a video for 45 seconds. This is why, Jimmy's such a great kid. This is his work ethic, whatever it is. A coach is going to sit and be more likely to really learn more about a kid by watching a video versus, just reading through a recommendation. So this will give you a sense of how we build each site, what we're looking for. But, we want the coach to know the person. So again, I think about my 20 years on the road with these kids, and, you want to spend time with kids that come from good families, who have something outside of golf in school. And so what we really try to do is paint the whole picture so that coaches know a little bit more about Sally or Jimmy besides just, okay, this person does fit my criteria academically and athletically, but what else can I learn about him or her that's going to help me to know if he or she is a fit.
Awesome. Tournament and scheduling, preparation and building. So we don't throw our kids to the wolves. We want to make sure that they're creating successes along the way. I'm hoping that you guys would agree with that. There's a lot of juniors that are chasing AJGA that have no business being in them right now. So we want to make sure that they're getting successes on the local level before they make that jump. So that's really important to us. It's important to us that they front load their season with 1-day events, because if you're familiar with the Junior Golf Scoreboard, that's a national ranking system that does multi-day events as well as 3-day events. It does not calculate 1-day events. So those 36 hole events aren't going to drop off for a year. That's something that they don't do anything to sign up for that. If they're registered with, if they being the tournament director and tournament, so it's like Hurricane, Gateway, AJGA, PGA series, there's most of them, if not all of them, the 2 and multi-day are going to be on the JGS. It's only with their peers. So it's not like an AM or the State AM or the Open. That is not on there. But those, again, stay on for 365 days. It's a rolling calendar. So we want to make sure that when they start those 2-day events that they're ready. So front load the spring with some 1-days to get ready. You're off a mat, you're on grass, and you're, getting it all back in gear. So that's our thought beyond that. As far as camps, I mentioned that earlier. We evaluate every one of them and ask the question, why are you going? Having been in the industry for a while and familiar with the camps, a lot of them are a money grab for the college, whether it's their spring break or what have you. So we're not going to send a kid to Alabama's camp if there's no way that they're going to go to Alabama or that level. We want to make sure that the coaches that are attending are that they want to, those are coaches they want to get in front of. So that goes back to being realistic, and also making sure that it is not a instructional camp. You know, we don't want to complicate your guys' job by putting more words in their head. It needs to be an exposure camp, not an instructional camp. So that's our thought with that. College campus visits. We do quite an extensive process with this one because we want to make sure the athlete is ready for that. We go over questions that they need to ask. We go over questions that the coach is probably going to ask. We help them research the schools beforehand. And we literally go through mock interviews and ask them questions that they're going to be getting. Really important for us. And that's kind of a hard stop for us because it's really important that first impression. We also help with the unofficial visits. So that's unofficial and official. Social media. This is Mary's lane 100%. I'm not a fan and I'm not good at it. So she's the guru on that. We teach them how to create a good social media presence. Hopefully combining the twos, no need to have separate personal and golf. Coaches are going to find it either way. They, as Mary said, they want to know you as a person. So how are you creating a good social media presence? Now, if this goes against what the family wants, if they don't want them to have a social media, not a problem. We're not going to go against the family morals or ethics and that family decision. If they don't want it, we don't push it. Rules. We help navigate the NCAA rules as well as NAIA, and we have NCAA on speed dial. So we want to make sure they're not breaking any rules and that we're all within the limitations of what the organization puts on us as far as being a student athlete. So we help with that as well. Coach and client liaison. This is where if we have connections, we will use them. And we reach out to coaches and find out what they're looking for. Again, back to Mary's example at the beginning with how I met her. So we use the relationships with the other two awesome ladies that we work with. They both were at the Division I level for quite some time and have extensive relationships. Personality evaluation. This is pretty fun. This is what we started last year. Some of you may know Dawn Woodard. She is a really great amateur player. She went to Furman. I've competed against her many times at mid-ams, and she's now doing a personality profile as it relates to golf. She won't toot her own horn very well, but she's worked with many colleges, how to pair people together. She's worked with Curtis Cup, a lot of team tournaments, how the US can put their players together and complement each other. So we've implemented this. It's about 10 minutes for the athlete to do, and then she goes over it for at least an hour. It gets pretty extensive because the families have questions about it, but it's awesome. It talks about why they learn. You guys would be interested in it too, because it talks about information that they need, that they're taking in with golf lessons or when people talk to them. Mary, do you have one in front of you? The three.
Yeah, I can pull one up.
The three things that it hits. Very insightful for you guys. And that's something that we would share with you guys. You guys could actually be on the call if you wanted. We've had coaches be on it before, so that's not a problem, but they hit three categories. Go ahead if you have it.
Yeah, I got it. So first of all, it's an assessment that's not based on psychology, it's philosophy. So it's a values-based assessment. It's basically the values that this person has relative to these three different areas. So the first area is actually what they value the most. So do they value people, tasks, or strategy? So as an example, we worked with a young lady. She's a state champion here in the state of Missouri. And we learned that she actually values strategy over people. So when she was going through the recruiting process, she was very interested in, okay, I'm sorry, task was her number one, strategy was her number two, but very close behind. She really valued, okay, does this program have the stats program that I like to use? What facilities does the team use? What's their tournament schedule like? She was less concerned about the people. So was she interested in her relationship with the head coach and the team? To some extent, yes, but it wasn't her primary driver. And so that was something we learned about her. And lo and behold, she chose a school that kind of hit those checkpoints that she was looking for, more related to task and strategy. This one's a big one for golf professionals and relationships with swing coaches. Is this individual, in terms of communication, needing a lot of details, placing a lot of detail or a lot of value in details and structure, or are they on the opposite side of the spectrum where they're more vague? So I'm sure you've walked away from a lesson where you felt like you articulated, okay, Jimmy, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. Before I see you next, you're going to do it 3 days a week. Text me with your results. And that person, it might have just gone in one ear and out the other. And you may just assume, oh, he's like lazy or unstructured. Well, really, it's just he kind of took the details he thought he needed and threw everything else away. And so there's certain strategies that we can help you with based on the feedback Dawn gives to help you to make sure, if you're a very detailed communicator, working with someone who just needs like vague and just a general structure of things. That one's a big one. And then the third area is what we call lens. So are you an idealistic person, a realistic person, or a balanced person in terms of how you see the world? So an idealistic person may be, okay, it's 150 yards. I always hit my 7-iron 150. Even though like they've come up short the last couple of holes, I'm going to hit that 7-iron because I know I hit it 150. That's the idealistic person. The balanced person's going to be like, I'm not quite hitting it quite as solid as I thought today. It's a little colder out. All right, I need to adjust. So there's certain ways, you can coach those individuals if you understand, okay, what is the lens they're looking through, and help them in terms of some strategy on the golf course. So Dawn then gives very practical, like things to do in practice and things to do, or things you can expect of yourself in competition, based on those 3 areas. So there's a lot of tangible takeaways. Things you'll probably, if you've had an established relationship with a student, you may walk away and say, I kind of knew all that, but it just helps you to kind of put a little bit more framework, have some more strategies and ideas around helping, and just, kind of everybody being on the same page. Hopefully you can tell what we do is very relationship driven. We care about these kids. We want to give them all the tools to be successful. And so this is one way we feel like everybody can be on the same page about essentially what this kid values and how he or she operates as a human being. So a little bit about that.
Thank you. Okay, so the last one we have is shot by shot. You guys may be familiar with it. It used to be Swing You.
Vice versa. It's now Swing You. It was shot by shot.
Thank you. That around. So that's how we measure, right? We can't improve what we don't measure. You guys will love this. I only hit 5 greens. I only hit 2 fairways. You can't deny what's actually happening in the round. So we would obviously share all of that information with you. Bless you. We would share all of that information with you so you can see exactly where their gaps are and what they need improvement on. And we find that that's really, really important. There is one thing that we don't have on here that we found very valuable. We really just started doing it in the last several months, but with our younger kids, we started it with our younger kids, being the 8th graders. But then once we found out how impactful it was and how valuable it was, we transitioned everybody, and now we're doing it with all of our kids. We read one specific book we read with them. It is Olympic performance based. Lanny Basham, that's the background that Mary has with her performance work. And it's amazing. And these kids get so much from it. We ask them to read 2 chapters. We talk about it and they highlight what they think is important. And then we let them know what they've missed. We let them know what's important. So it's a really great balanced approach to the way of thinking and the mental process. So that's really become a good thing that we're doing, that we've added to. So with all of that being said, anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions. Yeah, it's pretty incredible what you guys do and what you can offer for the college student. You know, I appreciate you going into depth with what you guys do with the student, so that our instructors can have a clear understanding and a buy-in to sending their students to you guys. You know, I think it's a great approach to your introduction to, you know, what happens in the college recruitment side. I know you don't like that word, but
Okay.
yeah. But no, I just appreciate you going into depth, because I think it allows us, you know, the buy-in necessary for us to, you know, tell our students and our families about what you guys can offer them. So no, appreciate you going so much into depth.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's important to us too, for you guys to know what we do, because we are different than the others. There are people out there that do this very cookie cutter, and we are very far from that. So it was important for us that, and we really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you guys, because we do want you to know what we do and our approach and everything that's involved.
Well, thank you very much.
Tanya, do you maybe want to hit upon just like what it might look like with, okay, let's say JR's got somebody who wants to send our way, like what would that look like? And what are our steps as we meet with a family, kind of what we do to learn what they need and then give them a proposal?
Yeah, that's great. So, and this I think will go back to Adam, how he wants to have that communication come to us. More than happy to give you our cell phone numbers, and we can, each individual can reach out and say, hey, I have a family, or it can come from Adam. We have someone that we want you to talk to. So we always have a Zoom just like this with all of the families prior to. So hopefully mom and dad and the athlete. And we literally do a deep dive into what they need. Where are they in the process? What have they done? What have they missed? And where do they want to go? What does college golf look like for them? I always start with the question somewhere in the first 10 minutes is, so on a scale of 1 to 10, where does college golf fit? 1 being, I don't want it, or 10 being, it's an 11. So that gauges us on how kind of in they are, you know, is it them or is it their mom and dad? So we kind of gauge, you know, are they trying to live vicariously through their kids? Well, I'm an 8 because academics is really important to me, which we're never going to sacrifice academics. We're going to start every phone call with, hey, how's it going? We don't start with, so what'd you shoot? That's not the way our approach. As Mary said, we are about the person and cultivating young adults into playing at the next level. So, then we would see if we were a good fit for each other. Because after this hour, they may not mesh with us. And the flip side, it may be that they aren't very realistic. And as I mentioned, we're not going to set ourselves up for failure. We're going to help them any way we can, as far as getting them started and showing them, you know, we come at it with real numbers, as far as why they're not realistic, if that's the case. And then from there, if they say, hey, we love it, well, 2 things would happen. After that conversation, Mary and I would put our heads together and create a proposal for them, with what what we heard they needed. We asked them exactly what they're wanting, create a proposal, send it over. Sometimes there's 2. If they're a young person, most of our athletes that are in the 8th grade, we've given them an option to go through May 31st of their sophomore year, or we give them the option to be all in. We want to be all in. There's that savings if they're all in. There's $1,000 savings roughly, depending on which proposal they go with and what that looks like. But we like to talk in languages of when we do this, not if we do this. If we get to that level, we're going to do this. We don't like that language. So because Mary and I are all in and we want to see it to the end, the reason that we give them that option is if they're a multi-sport athlete, they may decide another sport, or I think sometimes it's the family gauging how badly the athlete really wants it. So, and you can see all of that within, and we also give them 90 days. If you've worked with us for 90 days and you say, hey, I changed my mind, I want to be all in, we'll let you take the all in price.
And just so you know why we selected that date, so D1, June 15th is the big date when coaches can start calling prospects. And literally, your Power 5 coaches will call at midnight. It's serious business. It's the kids who want to be on the radar. And, you're going to have kids who come through your doors who are high-level kids, or kids who think they are the high-level kids. So that's an important date, and that's why we set it that way.
Very good. I mean, obviously, pricing would change for a family if it was their sophomore year and they were getting started, or if it was their freshman year and they were getting started. So it's all, based on time. Okay, makes sense.
No questions?
What are the costs associated? I mean, obviously you guys are providing a service, but we haven't heard what the cost is. It's obviously not my job to worry about other people's wallets, and defer them away from your service due to cost. But also, if I'm going to recommend you and allow you to sell yourselves and your service and your product to one of my clients, I kind of need to know what the pricing structure would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, depending on what year they are, depending on what they're actually needing, if they're all in with everything I just explained there, we're anywhere from $1,650 to $6,250. And that $6,250 is going to be that 8th grader. It's going to be roughly around 6. Basically, could be a little more, could be a little less, but that's the number we're targeting. And just so you know, we've based that, there was a rhyme or reason how we got to that. We've based our services on $150 an hour and the time that we're putting into it, the Zooms, the behind the scenes work, the letter reviews, all of that. But keep in mind that we'll say 6,000 for an 8th grader, that takes them through signing. So that takes them, that's 5 years, 4.5 years. And there's competition that charges 6 to 8 a year. So we feel very comfortable with that. We're definitely not the most, we're not the cheapest, but it's
We've been very thoughtful about where we've landed.
Yeah. And we feel good where we've landed. Not everyone can afford it, and we know that, but it's a lot of time on our side too. So if they just need the consulting, then they don't want all the other stuff, but they want the knowledge and they want somebody to hold their hand. That obviously is going to be on the lower end. That's not going to be the up top with the evaluations, the personality stuff, or it may be too late. They don't need that. We worked with a gentleman that was late to the game. It wasn't even close to that. But we got him across the finish line. So.
And that's where, JR, that's a great question, because depending upon how Adam decides, you guys decide how to do this, us having a sense of background, we are going to stay consistent in our pricing. But if we know, for instance, a family, 1 of 5 kids, that sort of thing, we may kind of have it in the back of our mind, okay, what are the things that we can take off the contract, knowing, hey, we want to give, be the all in, but realistically, the family just can't afford that. So we know they're going to go for information somewhere. And I'm sure some of you, you kind of look as a kid evolves, and I wish we would have done this then. I wish we would have done that then. Like, there are things you can't go back and do. And if they're getting bad information, we make it our job to know, what are the things out there they need to be doing, the good resources, that sort of thing. So that's where that communication with you is really valuable. If you can, on the front end, just give us a heads up, that's helpful as well.
And you just sparked something in my head. It was the brilliant thing I was going to say like 30 minutes ago. And if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. So we also try to counsel them against fairway talk. Well, John's dad's doing this, so that means Sally has to do this. And, the reality is John's nothing like Sally, and maybe not be at the same place or the same ability. So doesn't need to be doing that, especially when you've got somebody that is at a high level and they're telling people that they need to play in AJGAs because that's how it all happened. If that person's not ready for that, it's going to do more harm than good. And that goes back to creating successes along the way, helping these kids feel like what it is to win, to be in the lead. We are of the philosophy and the mindset that the AJGA is not the end all be all. There's a lot of ways to get there, and we have that information because we talk to a lot of coaches that tell us the same thing. Not everybody has to be on that path.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that we'll set up kind of like our system here where it would be an email with, myself and the teacher. And then we can kind of, introduce the student that way, with me on it. And then I know, hey, we're sending somebody there. And so that's kind of how I see it going, where, all of our instructors can send me an email and say, hey, little Johnny is interested in starting conversations with RSA, and then from there, I can I will know, FGLC will know, and then we can kind of start the introduction from there. Is it best for us to just contact Mary, send an email to both of you? Like, what works best for you guys?
Both of us, please. Just because if we do a great job of tag teaming, if she's gone, if I'm gone, as she said, we speak with one voice. But we'll always coordinate schedules so we can meet together. Very rarely, unless something comes up that is unavoidable, very rarely are we not on the calls together or Zooms.
Great. Yep. Okay.
And then just a question, what other facilities or individuals are you working with here in the St. Louis area?
Mary, I'll let you take that one.
So we do have a partnership with Gateway PGA, and that just started this year. We don't currently have any other relationships. We do have any formal contractual relationships. After working with Yash, I actually knew Ray Farnell prior to Yash doing some work with him. And so we've done a seminar over at Whitmore. We did that, I think, last year or the year before. So I'm always trying to build, relationships with the area swing instructors. I did share, some of that information regarding the Gateway with some local instructors as well. So we're going to have upcoming Zooms, which some of your kids may already know about. But those are our existing partnerships as of today.
And we actually kicked off Gateway last night. We had a webinar, and this is something that we would offer to you guys too, if you wanted a webinar. We had a former D1 coach. We had a mental professional on there. It was an hour, and it really got great feedback. So we're trying to educate along the way. I mean, this is, we don't pretend to know it all. So we're trying to put the right people on the bus, I guess, is the best way to say that.
Do all students that go through your process, do they sign with the team or get scholarships?
I'm knocking on wood, you can't see it.
Mm.
So 100% of the athletes I've worked with have been given an offer or decided not to play. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes they get through the process and realize their academics and athletics don't align with the school they want to go to. We've had a young lady that just decided to go PGM, but she did have an offer outside of that. That is a great question. And my husband keeps telling me I need to do scholarship dollars. How much money have we saved families over the years? The caveat with that is, per NCAA rules and regulations, we're not allowed to negotiate money. That by definition is an agent. And they don't really like that word. They're in Indianapolis at the NCAA. So we don't negotiate that, but we do try to help them find other scholarship dollars if it's not what the number that they wanted, or if they can't afford it. We try to make sure every stone's unturned as far as, not unturned, as far as everything that they could get.
So NIL hasn't affected your process at all either, or hasn't been part of that process, correct?
It's another great question. So, I haven't seen much. I will say that the portal has affected us. We've started working with some families that have put themselves in the portal. Again, we can't contractually work with them until they're in the portal. And I have counseled kids how to do that. And that simply is, you need to go to your compliance officer. Every university has one. But legally, I can't help you navigate any further until you're safely in that. We have been, I have had conversations with coaches that are doing NIL and some of the ways they're doing that, but that's not negotiated in any of the kids that we've placed. Great questions. Any others? Sorry about the halo. I look like I'm coming down from heaven, don't I? The sun's finally shining here in Chicago. I'm not familiar with what that is out there.
Yeah, is there a lot of snow on the ground?
We have about 10 inches, and worst thing was we went into a deep freeze. We didn't get above 10 degrees for about a week and a half. So
Free.
I hope you don't have a Tesla.
we do. That's the problem.
Oh,
Well, it's in
no.
the garage. I heard about the Tesla graveyards. That's funny you said that. Yeah. Yeah, it's parked in the third stall right now.
Wow. Well, if there's no more questions, I think this has been a great introduction to what you guys are doing. And I think that, your services can help a lot of our students here. And hopefully we can connect those dots for you and, give more resources to the student to reach their goals. Because that's what we do here at Family Golf, is try to give them all the resources possible to reach their potential and where their goals are. So we appreciate your time and look forward to the partnership, and look forward to bringing you some kids, in the coming seasons.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time today. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye. I'm learning more and more stuff. I just removed
Stop
him.
your recording.